What's happening, everybody, and welcome to the Annoyed Adult Podcast. And today we're going to go through Reddit. Yeah, the more popular social media platforms are going to go through Reddit. And if you don't know what Reddit is, it's basically a place where people can log in and then they post topics, and then people will comment on it and they'll upvote or downvote. And that says if someone likes the idea or doesn't like what you say, they can do that. And we're going to go through the teacher subreddit. And what a subreddit is, you have Reddit and there's different parts of Reddit. And so we're going to go today on the teacher subreddit, and let's take a look at what some of these teachers have to say, and then we'll do a comment on it. You and I will listen together, and here we go. All right. User My Opinions Don't Hurt says, kids think ChatGPT is going to save them. Turnitin says differently. And so this person says, love what just happened. My students turned in their assigned short research paper. I had them submit via Turnitin. Turnitin says 80% use ChatGPT. Their similarity score was over 93%. And so they all got zeros, and the mob, in quotes, started to debate the plagiarism echoes of, I didn't cheat, I swear. And so this teacher put it up on the projector and showed them that their report and ChatGPT is garbage, and they try this crap in college, they'll be academically suspended or expelled. Your zero stand, definitely a good day. So this teacher is saying, the students cheated and they wrote it on ChatGPT and they turned it in. Okay, I understand. And Turnitin is this service where they check for plagiarism, right? But let me say this to the teacher. What the fuck are you still doing assigning essay papers? You know these kids are going to cheat. Seriously, who hasn't used ChatGPT recently to go ahead and start doing their work? I think we all at one point used it, right? I mean, I've used generative AI to develop a quick rubric. Kids are going to do this ChatGPT stuff. It's super easy. I advocate for it. I love it when students do this stuff. And a lot of people say, well, why would you advocate for that? It's like, it's easy. Look, it's saying, fine, if I ask ChatGPT to write me a letter in Japanese, I don't speak Japanese, but I can't expand on it either because ChatGPT wrote it. Like, if this teacher really wanted to do a good job, then instead of doing this short essay, how about you just have the kids stand up and then present extemporaneously? That would be easier. Just have them present extemporaneously. Let them explore their ideas and let them talk about it. Of course they're going to cheat. I mean, what did you expect? So to that teacher, my opinions don't hurt. I would say don't worry about it. Just do something else. Like, why are you still making kids write essays? That doesn't make any sense. That's completely useless. Okay? All right. Let's try another question here. Okay, this one is from Comprehensive Mud 303, and Comprehensive Mud 303 says, it's scary how unempathetic these kids can be. So they write, it's nothing out of the ordinary. These kids barely listen. They're constantly chaotic and noisy and rude, but that's beside the point. Today, my voice was partially gone and it was a struggle to get any words out. I made it clear at the beginning of class that I was sick today, and therefore they needed to be a bit quiet so that I don't strain my voice out. Instead of doing all that, they took this as an opportunity to piss the hell out of me, say their usual misbehavior times 100. I don't think I've ever seen this unrelenting and disorganized behavior. It was like I wasn't even there. I had to quit the class midway because they weren't even acknowledging me. Okay, Comprehensive Mud. So you were having a bad day. Your kids are out of control. I don't know what grade you teach. Maybe you teach elementary. Maybe you teach high school. Maybe you teach middle school. Look, this is teachers. You need to understand. It's kind of like prison, right? You tell the kids that you're not feeling strong today, and they're gonna totally take advantage of you. If you're not feeling strong, don't come to work. They're gonna run all over you. And you know what? To be honest, I've actually come to work sick, and my students have been all right. Maybe you need to do a better job of being a teacher and throw some discipline down. Like, what is the level? What is the level of your behavior to start? Like, that's my question. Like, do your students even respect you in the first place? Because you're saying that they went from their normal misbehavior to 100. If they have usual misbehavior, then what is your policy for making sure that shit's on lock? What is your policy for making sure that you're a good teacher and making sure that you do a good job to knock all that nonsense off? You got to step up. That's your job. You're the teacher. If you have terrible expectations in the beginning, then you're going to have terrible expectations when you're not feeling well. Like that kind of behavior as a teacher should be set. That should be set like the very first 2 weeks of school. You need to get on that. Okay. So comprehensive mud 303. Sorry, you had a real shit day, but maybe you need to check how you behave around kids and how they treat you in the first place. All right. Here's one by Acrobatic Meeting 584. And the title of this one says, Bro, parents have to stop giving their children smartphones. And their post says, apathy is out of control. I'm 27. I've been in teaching for 5 years. I've been out of high school since 2015. It totally is different nowadays, the way kids act. I've been in two different districts in my 5 years, one with over 1,000 kids, one with under 300 kids. In both schools, these kids are out of control. And it comes down to the culture that proliferates on apps like TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, and also the hands-off approach that the majority of parents seem to have when it comes to, well, parenting. They continue to say, like, what good could possibly come from a child in school having a smartphone? He goes over and talk about iPad kids. I'm just saying he. I don't know if it's he. It could be a lady. All right. But then they say, I got my first phone at 17 years old, and it was an old flip phone. Didn't hurt me socially or academically. I was homecoming king, so didn't suffer sociably. I was valedictorian. Is a phone for emergency is not sufficient when it comes to kids. I really don't, I literally don't know how to manage a classroom of 30 who all have phones. Oh, okay, okay. All right, listen up, homecoming king. So we're presuming you're a he. Listen up, homecoming king and valedictorian. Just because you had a flip phone doesn't make you king shit, right? Doesn't make you better than somebody else because you grew up with less than. My students have cell phones, but again, like I said in my other comment, that is you to put the expectation through. Yeah, kids are going to use phones. So tell you what, why don't you turn that into a tool? Make the kids look up information on their phones. Keep asking them questions, like make it a graded thing. What about using a tool like Kahoot? And if for those of you who don't know what Kahoot is a game, gamified quiz game. So you put the quiz online, and the kids got to get on their cell phone and use Kahoot to go ahead and click the answers through. You're saying what good? You also you said what good could possibly come from a child still in school having a smartphone? A lot of good. Kids need to know what time the bus comes. Kids need to look up information online. Kids need to go ahead and check Infinite Campus or whatever grading system you use. Kids need to send emails. Kids need to locate their parents. Not all bad comes from cell phones. I think what you're really saying is like, oh, because they're on TikTok and Snapchat and Instagram. Yeah, they're on TikTok and Snapchat and Instagram. You think that's what? That's a unique problem. You're a 27-year-old. So let me tell you something as an older person, as a middle-aged adult to a 27-year-old. Why don't you go to the restaurant, and as you're at the restaurant, watch how many of your friends take out their cell phone as you're trying to eat. I bet you're doing it too. I bet you're taking out your phone too while people are trying to order or talk to you. Don't put this just on the kids. Adults are also responsible for having this kind of behavior. Oh, you're 27 and you're a child, man. You you're a child teaching children. That's what you're doing, right? You got a big district, a small district, it doesn't matter. Kids have phones. Uh, who do you think gets the phone? Who do you think pays for it, by the way? The parents. So who are you blaming here, right? The parents are probably to blame for this. So go easy, man. Go easy. You're a child. You probably do the same thing with your phone. You're probably taking Snapchats and TikToks and all that other shit, pissing somebody else off. This one's called Kids Need Hard Deadlines by Eagles Nation 11. Realization that I came to a couple weeks ago that I'm going to change once I get back from spring break. Since the pandemic, I've been very lax with my deadlines. Basically, I've had due dates, but kids could turn in work until the end of the marking period for credit. I was overwhelmed. I changed it to the end of unit. I found myself overwhelmed, fearful of missing a turn in late email. So when I came back from spring break, I'm planning on setting due dates for something and turning on the setting, which disallows late submissions. Okay, I understand what you're saying. All right. So basically, what this teacher is saying is that they have these soft deadlines and now they're going to do hard deadlines. And this person, Eagles Nation 11, says they're going to run this experiment for the last quarter to prove the hypothesis correct. Kids need deadlines. They turn it, and I'm very excited to see the results. That's what he says. And so he also goes on by saying the turn-in rates on these assignments were higher than those with soft deadlines. Okay, Eagles Nation 11. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You can't give kids soft deadlines for shit. Nothing. It's stupid. Giving a kid a soft deadline is saying like whenever. And here's what's going to happen, right? If you give kids soft deadlines, all they're going to do is wait to the end of the quarter, or you call it a marking period or whatever. They're going to wait till the end and then turn everything in. And then guess what? You got to grade all that shit. Why the fuck would you do that? Don't be stupid. If you set hard deadlines, you're putting in realistic expectations on students on when things are due and when you're going to grade them, and then you grade them. It's very easy to do, right? I mean, you should do that. I'm happy. I'm really happy that you're going to run this experiment. But if you're going to start your next school year, you should start immediately. Hard deadlines. This is it. There is no soft deadlines. Like in my class, I don't do late work exceptions at all. I don't accept late work for anything. You have to do your work, and it has to be turned in at the right amount of time. That's it. End of story. But good job, Eagles Nation 11. I'm glad. I'm glad you found this out. All right, this one's by Alley Cat 5, and Alley Cat 5 says one of my classes refuses to do any work. So Alley Cat 5 says, first year teacher here. I have 4 middle school classes, and out of the 4 middle school classes, I have one class that 80% of the students refuse to do their work. That means 80% of the class is failing. In my other classes, it's only about 10%. Every class is doing the same work. I've tried micromanaging, giving extra class time to finish assignments, assigning seats, doing check-ins, one-on-one meetings, contacting parents, making notes every day, writing referrals, and it still has not done anything to help. What else can I do in this situation? Is anyone else dealing with a class like this? Yeah, Alley Cat 5, you got a very difficult situation here. If you've got 4 classes, but one's not doing the work, there has to be something about that particular class. And what I urge you to do is like look at the student dynamic of the class. Like, is there a core group of students that are just like, propagating this shit behavior that no one has to do the work? Maybe that's the case. But you know what? Straight up, here's what. You are doing what you're supposed to do. Okay. Alley Cat 5, you are doing what you're supposed to do. You are doing the referral slips, you're contacting parents, you're making notes. So what you're doing is you're documenting all this behavior in the classroom already. If you're already documenting the behavior in the class, then, well, put 2 hands up. Put your left hand up, put your right hand up, and say, fuck it. Because you did what you're supposed to do. You are documenting it. You're trying your best. Hey, man, if they don't want to do it, they're not going to do it. Like, what are you going to do? Beat the shit out of them for not doing their work? I don't know what state this is. Maybe you can. Maybe you can. But all jokes aside, yeah, fuck it. You are doing what you're supposed to do. You're documenting their misbehavior. You're documenting um, their apathy toward doing the work. So just give them Fs. Let them fail. And then when some parent or some admin says, hey, how come this class is failing? Like, look, I got 3 other classes that are doing all the work, but this particular class doesn't want to do the work for whatever reason. I've documented it. Nobody wants to listen. And then just move on from it. Okay? Alley Cat 5, good luck with that. But, don't be a pushover. Fail them if you got to. Okay, Love Rude 3944 says, starting to regret my decision. And so Love Rude 3944 says, for reference, I'm a paraprofessional, or you wrote para, so I assume so. Para in your early 20s. You're only in your second year of education. You love how your first year went, but really you felt like this was the job for you. Actually went back to school to pursue education. And Love Rude 3944 continues to say like, admin never does anything, and he or she is judged by their coworkers. And I quote, I assume because I'm the youngest employee, I also have piercings, which I feel contributes to this, but I could be wrong. Love Rude 3944 says, this is the best paying job I've ever had for sure, as well as the highest paying. So best job you've ever had, highest paying job, but you're struggling to find the motivation to continue your journey in education. Okay, look, man, you are a young 20-something-year-old who is going through, your real job, your career. This is what you want, right? The problem is that you're saying, "Oh, life is hard." Can you do me a favor? Like, take it from an older dog. Can you just like shut the fuck up for a moment and bear down? Because yeah, it's going to be hard. You're a child again, like the other post, right? You're a child trying to teach children. That's your job as a youngest employee. You feel like, oh, you have piercings. Well, I don't know, man. If piercings are distracting, then maybe take those things out, right? If you want to be yourself, then be yourself and just be more stoic about it. Okay, so you say like, you're trying to find the motivation to continue. I remember a scene in the TV show Mad Men where Don Draper, the main character, an older person, ad executive, tells Peggy, a younger junior ad executive, and the Peggy says to Don, "You never say thank you," and Don Draper says, "That's what the money's for." So Love Ruth 3944, I'm telling you, that's what the money's for, right? You just said this is the highest paying you job you've ever had. And the reason why a lot of like young teachers quit and phase out is because that kind of shit behavior, you feel, oh my God, it's so hard. Teaching's not fucking easy, man. Teaching's a hard fucking job. You got to deal with a lot of crap. You got to deal with crap from your administration. You got to deal with crap from terrible coworkers. You got to deal with crap from terrible students. You got to deal with crap from those terrible students' parents. You have to take so much shit. That is the job. That is the job, man. You got to do your very best and dig down deep and get this education across to these kids as best you can. And if you can't do that, then step aside for someone that wants to. Come on, man. You're in your early 20s. Keep going through the process, all right? Be hard on yourself. Stop wearing your heart on your sleeve. Oh, you feel people don't like you. I don't know your situation. I really don't. I'm not in your school, and maybe if I observed you and you observed me, that we would have different observations of each other. Maybe you are a piece of shit, or maybe you're just overreacting to things. But you gotta dig deep, man. You gotta dig deep and do what needs to be done. All right. Good luck, Love Ruth 3944. Apprehensive Drive 604 is a mom, and this mom says, teachers have advice on where a mom should look for tutoring. Okay, so this person's apprehensive drive says, I'm a mom looking for summer tutoring for my 9-year-old to keep him from slipping back into reading. His doctor thinks he may have ADHD, and I think he could have dyslexia, but I've not had him tested. He made some big improvements in the school year. I'm trying to figure out where to even look, and then I feel lost on the internet, and his school didn't have advice. I saw a post on here about how Huntington Learning Center isn't great. And since that is where I was looking, I thought, hey, maybe I have recommendations. Okay. Any advice would be appreciated. All right. Yeah. Well, first, Apprehensive Drive 604, good for you. Good for you for looking for services for your kid. I'm happy. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel good that you're looking for services for your son to make sure that his academics are up to par. That is probably something that most parents don't do. Okay. Uh, if I think the first thing you need to do is you say his doctor thinks he may have ADHD and you think he could have dyslexia. You definitely need to test him for that. He needs to be diagnosed properly with ADHD or dyslexia or a combination of both or one or the other if he is. And then when he's properly diagnosed, then you can move to the next phase, which is having services like IEPs and 504s, and those are federal services that are available to you, right, as a parent. And those services must be adhered to by the teacher so they can take care of your son. That's what you got to do. You got to make sure he's tested first. Okay, so that is like the start. Get him tested, then move him into what services are needed. Once you find that, and let's say he does need these services, then you can start searching around for reading resources and things like that. Like, do they have a Kumon where you are? Do they? There's got to be. There has. I don't know. Maybe you live in a small town. Maybe you live in a small town. And you don't have those services available. But I think probably the best thing that you can do is to continue to read with your son. I read with my daughter. So you continue to read with your son. That is probably the best thing. And when you read, I don't know, this worked for me. When you read, don't just read like, books that he doesn't enjoy. Like, I don't know, as a 9-year-old, what does he want to read about? Minecraft and Pokemon? then yeah, go get a bunch of Minecraft and Pokemon chapter books and then have him read that or read with him and then build this story, right? Like my daughter is really into Pokemon right now. And before that, it was Unicorn. So whatever the books are, take your kid to the library and then grab books that are appropriate in what he wants. If he wants to read about Roblox or whatever the case may be, then let him read about those things. It doesn't matter. You think, oh, the books are or are not appropriate. If you just go to the public library, just go ahead and get some books that are content driven in his focus. So what I mean by that is, again, as I said, go get books that are like, give me all the Minecraft books. Go give me all the books about zombies, or give me all the books about rocket ships, or whatever the case is. Whatever your son is into, go get him books about that and then have him read it. And if he's got to reread it again, then do it again. And then what you do is every time he reads a chapter, you tell him, hey, what is this chapter about? And if he got it wrong, then you got to read it again and just kind of go over it again, which also means that you as a loving mother is going to read these books with your kid. Good question. So again, let's recap. First, get him tested for the ADHD and the dyslexia, and let's see if there's something going on over there. If there's nothing going on over there, then go ahead and read. Take him to the library and read him. You know what? Do that anyway. Take him to the library anyway and read him. There's no bad that can happen from that. All right, this one is from Eat Paint 2428. I believe this is a student, and this student says, "Do teachers worry about their students?" So, Eat Paint 2428 says, "I, a student, was in science class the other day when I overheard a conversation between a classmate and my teacher that went as follows. Student 1, well, sir, I don't really care what you think of me. Student 2, don't worry, sir, I do." This was said in a joking, mocking manner. And the teacher said, "Guys," to the whole class, "teachers do not care about you. They go home and we don't think about you. Is this true?" Uh, Man, that depends on the teacher, I guess. Like you know, if you're a bad teacher, then you clearly don't care about your students. And I should preface this. I should say, like, there's different levels of caring. Like, there's a little bit of caring and there's a lot of caring, right? Like, if you are an advisory teacher, or maybe you're a teacher that is building a science fair team or whatever, you really do care. Like, I care about my students, and I think what I care about the most is I care what happens to them after their entire school experience is over. Like, once they graduate, what happens next? Like, I'm like, man, I hope they're okay. Like, even the worst kids I've ever had, even the worst students I've ever had, I still like, man, I hope they're gonna be all right. Like, you can't help it. That's just part of the nature of being a teacher. That you just can't help it. Man, I hope you're gonna be okay. You were a fucking real bad kid, but I really hope you're gonna be okay. Like, I don't want to see my old students living on the street. And I know as I progress in the years, that is a possibility. But I don't like go home and like, oh my God, I hope little Johnny, does his homework. Like, whatever, man. They're gonna do it. They're gonna do it. That's not the kind of caring I do. I think at Eat Pain 248 says, like, is this true? Like, do teachers really care or not care? I'm like, there's levels of caring. Well, all right. Those are a lot of good questions from Reddit. Thank you. Thank you very much for all these suggestions that people have written, all these posts that people have written. I want to thank you, the listener, for listening to this podcast, the Annoyed Adult Podcast. And you can find more episodes on Spotify and on iTunes. And we hope to see you there. All right? Until next time, aloha.